Up next, we have eLog from Kent, England, University of Kent.
Hello, my name is Cesare Dunker.
And I'm Ryan Sorfen.
We empower asylum seekers to build their own asylum case, enabling them to demonstrate why they are eligible for asylum. Now, you already know about the European refugee crises, but did you know refugees are waiting for years in Europe to actually receive asylum? Today, we're going to show you how we can help the world's biggest humanitarian crises by speeding up the processing of asylum seekers. But before we do so, we want to show you a refugee journey. Asylum seekers are making the dangerous journey from the Middle East to Europe, across the Mediterranean Sea. They rarely have access to cellular networks or internet. Mobile devices document refugee journey in the 21st century. This year alone, 3 million asylum seekers will arrive in Europe. That's equivalent to double the size of West Virginia. Now, the country taking the most in is Germany, so we're going to be focusing on Germany. In 2015, Germany received over 900,000 asylum applicants. The majority were Syrian, and this trend is growing. Now, asylum seekers are arriving with no documentation needed for asylum. This means the government has to conduct several interviews to legitimize these asylum seekers. This processing, combined with the amount coming, means Germany has over 700,000 unprocessed people. Now, processing is expensive, with an initial screening alone costing $200 per person. Governments screen for level 1 data concerning the individual, level 2 data concerning family relations, and then in a secondary interview, level 3 data concerning the reasons and methods for leaving. And this major problem is this processing time, which wastes government resources and refugee time. And this is echoed by the experts on the ground. They told us a major problem was processing. We spoke to British Red Cross, who said that the issue is people, they have to prove they are who they say they are. We repeatedly found that the lack of evidence to support an asylum claim was slowing down the process. So consequently, we asked ourselves, how can we process asylum claims faster, but crucially, without lowering the standards?
And this is where we came up with eLog. eLog is a social enterprise which empowers asylum seekers to build their own asylum case whilst undergoing their migration. eLog is similar to mobile banking in that it creates a safe and secure account for the user and the data. And similar to Facebook, the individual can upload pictures or even post documents of themselves just like they would on their own timeline. We have used the UNHCR registration handbook to create a comprehensive asylum package. This is categorized into level 1, 2, and 3 data, readily available for immigration departments to review. So when the user signs up to their application, they are asked to fill in the relevant details in order to collect the first 2 levels of data. The user will then be able to input level 3 data, and we shall show you how. Uploading a data point is similar to uploading a picture on Facebook. The app automatically geotags and timestamps your location and asks for a short personal statement along with a photo to authenticate an individual's ID. The user can then upload the data point to one of our secure eLog servers once they are connected to the internet, enabling the asylum seeker to eLog their journey.
So the asylum seeker downloads this application onto their mobile, then inputs that level 1 and level 2 data. They can then post those data points as they undergo their migration, that level 3 data, validating their journey. They can then back this up to a secure cloud using end-to-end encryption. When the asylum seeker then arrives at the immigration department, they can grant them access to their very own asylum application stored in the cloud. This now means asylum seekers are arriving with the relevant documentation required for asylum. The government doesn't have to gather the level 1, 2, and 3 data, as eLog does this for them. eLog subsequently halves the cost, which could have saved a region of Germany alone $19 million and saved the time that asylum seekers are dependent on the state. Now, it is the state that's dealing with identification and tracking, as there is no private competition. DIMPIT, a US program, identified and tracked asylum seekers by giving them a bracelet with a microchip and taking other pieces of ID. eLog actually gathers more information whilst making it a secure and private service for users. We take the historical issue of people displacement and we modernize it. And we're not the only people saying this. We spoke to people in the organizations listed, and they told us that eLog was an innovative approach which could be a very important tool for not only refugees, but also governments. Now, it would be the governments paying for this service, as it's in their interest to lower the costs of processing asylum seekers.
There's a real appetite for a service like eLog. The $3.6 billion AMIF fund is just one of the many ways in which governments are seeking to improve the efficient processing of migration in the EU alone. We will focus all our resources on time and mobile. On mobile app and website development during the first and second quarter of commencement. Once we have a fully built and operational mobile application and website, we shall test and review the prototype. At this stage, we are hoping to develop partnerships with NGOs during the third and fourth quarter of commencement. Finally, we will be launching our product to the market in the second year, generating revenue, which shall be discussed in more detail next. So according to the CIA World Factbook, 87% of Syrians have a mobile. We conservatively estimated that 50% of this figure would be our potential market. From this, we assume that at launch, 0.001% of asylum seekers coming into Germany would use eLog. As you can see, we would incur a total cost of $560,000 in our first year, as we would have to pay for our tech team, servers, and office space. However, as asylum seekers begin to use our application, we would be experiencing exponential growth in revenue from year 2 onwards. We would break even at 6,300 units, and we expect to make a generous gain from our investment in the third year. As eLog is a social enterprise, if we profit, society profits also.
So currently the team is Ryan and myself. We have expertise in law and politics and experience in business and economics. So we're looking for a tech team to help develop and code eLog. Now we're still in the early stages, but we're speaking with Techfugees about future mentoring, an enthusiastic London-based NGO that specializes in humanitarian innovation. Now, the service would be enabled through our vision, our team, accompanied with partnerships with NGOs for guidance and marketing. This would then facilitate our service infrastructure. We're going to capture that first customer through marketing with people on the ground, with NGOs on the ground in the affected areas. This, combined with an internet campaign, would allow the eLog message to be spread in the affected areas through word to mouth. The results would be government partnerships, of course having the users on the service and then seeing how we can improve their relationship. This then allows us to evaluate our service, and through learning and innovation, we repeat this cycle to advance in our business stages 1 and 2. Now, the growth and development of the business is expected to run through 2 major stages. Stage 1, where governments use the eLog data to aid their decision on an asylum application, and stage 2, where that same decision can be made solely on the eLog evidence. And we expect to reach stage 2 in year 4.
We would need $611,000 investment according to our projected cost of development. This will be gathered through public funding and seed investment. But initially, we would use the $25,000 to register the company, carry forth market research, and develop the app specifications, which would essentially become the backbone behind our mobile and website. We already have an exit strategy if the situation ever arises in the future. We could potentially merge with other social enterprises such as Simprints, a biometric private company based in Cambridge, United Kingdom, or we could sell to government service providers. Ladies and gentlemen, the refugees already have the tools in their pockets, and we at eLog enable them to use it in a new and innovative way.
Thank you very much. We'll now take questions.
Great presentation. Could you clarify how you're making money, what your different revenue streams?
Well, in terms of us making money, we collect the 3 levels of data, and this is essentially bought by the government per tier model. So they pay $100 per individual request, which is 50% cheaper than the conventional system which they're using right now in Europe and worldwide.
And just to clarify, that's just on contact hours. That's just an asylum caseworker working with an asylum seeker to gather that information. That doesn't include the time saved, which, because right now when asylum seekers come in, they can't get a job, they can't get education. They are fully dependent on the state for their basic needs. So reducing that time where they're dependent on the state could also have big savings in the future.
Thank you. It's a really big problem back at home, but without being too political, you are assuming that everybody inside the European Union is welcoming refugees and wants to encourage them to come to the European Union. When you really think about that, the entry points, let it be Greece, Italy, Hungary, where I'm from, unfortunately the governments not just not welcoming, they are discouraging individuals to enter, including UK. So if you are assuming that the German government is willing and has the political power to purchase it, I think your target marketing is fantastic. I would really question whether it's going to be applicable to the other European Union nations who unfortunately are not on the same, fortunately or unfortunately, without any political opinion being expressed, are not on the same spectrum as Germany.
Well, that's a very good question, and I'm glad you brought out. Well, it is a European crisis, but Germany right now has taken the initiative to take in the Syrian refugees themselves. They've even issued a moratorium on the Belfast Agreement. So that means they take in as many, and they're trying to collect as many Syrian refugees as they can directly into their system so that they can reintegrate into society. So initially, eLog will be focusing predominantly on the German market and the German asylum system. But once we expand and once this becomes a European application, we would be expanding to different states. But initially, we will... well, we don't know that. But.
Well, no, it's... Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, the whole of Europe is facing a crisis at the moment, and the European Union is trying its hardest to deal with that crisis, which is why they put funds like the AMIF fund out there to basically help with these private initiatives. Because right now, we know how inefficient governments are. Right now, they want some sort of private company to help them with the processing of asylum seekers. Just to process, not necessarily encouraging people to come, but just to deal with the people we have at the moment in the present time, you know. Of course, governments don't want to appear to be encouraging people to come to their countries, but right now, you know, the governments need to deal with the people they have in their countries, and a service like eLog could help speed up the processing of those, for example, 700,000 unprocessed people that are situated in Germany at this moment.
I just want to, because I'm still a little unclear of the business model here. So let's say after you develop this app, and it sounds like you need another several hundred thousand dollars to actually get the app developed. Let's say once you do, let's say every potential refugee in Syria downloads it, okay? And then they come to, let's say, Germany, and they give their, you know, they can give their data to someone there who's processing refugees, and then that government would have to pay $100 for each one that they access the data from. Is that Do I have that? Do I understand that correctly?
Well, I guess what you're alluding to is if there was to be like a mass migration into a country, they would have to pay $100 to use the service. Is that kind of what you're saying? Or
Are you saying that the refugees have to pay the $100?
No.
Where the government pays $100 per person?
Absolutely.
To
So
get the data.
right now, for just the initial screening alone, they have to pay $200 per person, and it takes a long time to process. So what we're saying is, right now, this is what you've got. You've got that $200 per initial screening and the time that they're dependent on the state. What we can do is we can reduce that time and cut that initial screening cost in half.
So why wouldn't I also market this to a kid from Zurich who's going to take a trip to San Francisco while he's in the U.S.? He can map his trip. He can take less, I love that picture. But, is there a commercial market here? Yeah, I know you can track your location on Facebook and all that, but you're trying to give a map. You're being precise in what you're doing. I couldn't understand if the texting was within the app or not. But is there a non-humanitarian application here?
Can I?
Yeah, sure. Go.
Obviously, there is a wider potential to this application. Right now, we're focusing predominantly on war-torn. This is like a wartime app. But as we grow, and if possible, if the refugee crisis does end, we do have the potential to expand our business so that it creates a peacetime app. So essentially, we would be focusing this eLog to control migration and to facilitate the migration process from country to country. So using your example, the Zurich student would be able to use our application to map and eLog his journey.
So take us into Syria. So we've got this guy, and he's got a smartphone, and they've made a decision some time ago that they're going to leave their home and start a long voyage. I guess what I don't understand is what percentage of the Syrian population has a smartphone? How likely is it that they have a plan when they're ready to leave? Is it a spontaneous decision typically, or is there a lot of planning? Because I'm just trying to mentally think through the steps that I would take if I were that guy. I'm leaving, I'm pulling documents, etc. Can you just help us, educate us?
Yeah, sure. We could use an example like here in the U.S. So imagine if there is a civil war that's about to erupt, and we don't know if it's going to start here in West Virginia. We don't know what's going to happen, but it erupts, and we're all in our houses. There is no transportation. There is none of these kind of essential things. So we need to make a voyage up to New York, and they're only accepting people from D.C. All right, so we can then take this app. We can go around our house. We can basically take our life library with us. We can upload birth certificates, family relation, all of these documents. And then we can take the bare essentials, which many of these Syrians are carrying. They're carrying a T-shirt, a pair of shoes, and a water bottle. They're not going to carry their whole library with them, which they actually need to get asylum. So like this way, we can make the voyage up to New York. And then when we arrive there, we can say, look, we've lived in D.C., these are the documents to support it. You can see that we've made this. They can literally map how we've been progressing up this thing. So they can say, okay, we're not accepting people from this area of the States. We're accepting people from this area of the States. So that's kind of like, I don't know if that answers your question.
It's very helpful, but yeah. Percentage of smartphone ownership in Syria, any idea?
In Syria, right now, it's 87%, according to the CIA World Factbook. And it's obviously a really important lifeline for refugees themselves to carry their smartphone, because they use Google Maps to track their journey. They use WhatsApp they have groups over there to alert them about the border camps and whether it's safe to venture forward and all of that. So essentially, smartphones are more important than food and shelter, as you saw from the very first slide.
Yeah. And just to add on to that, we are living in a very special era. We're living in an era where in refugee camps you have areas where you can charge your mobile phone and even Wi-Fi access. Like, we wouldn't expect this to be happening, but this is what's out there. People want the internet. They have these mobile phones. They have these supercomputers essentially in their pockets, and we're helping them to use it in a new and innovative way.
I think we have time for a question or two. Okay, two questions. Okay, is it logical that a refugee will move with a mobile phone and have an internet connection? internet plan?
That's a fantastic question. So the big downside with an app like Facebook is you have to post a picture and upload it onto the internet. What we do with eLog, we can facilitate you to upload, to basically queue your documents on the application, queue your geotagged points without ever having access to the internet. So that is where the real revolutionary aspect comes to it. This is a completely offline app. You can use, of course, the internet to back all of that information up. But if you travel with your mobile phone and you never receive an internet connection, you can make it to that other country without ever having access to the internet and still have a legitimate asylum package that you can show to immigration departments.
Okay, and one more. Okay, so your $600,000 in your first year, it sounded a bit high. How is that going to be spent? $600,000 investment.
Sure. So the kind of way we did it was if someone was to come to us right now and say, how much money do you need? I love the idea. Then we would say, we need this set of money for an office, for our tech team, for basically having an all-encompassing team. Because at the end of the day, what we're selling is security. We're selling to governments the fact that this person is who they say they are and they're not going to be a threat to your country. So what we're selling is security. So we need a really strong tech team behind us, which is why the costs are slightly higher. Thank you.